जय गोपी जनवल्लभा गिरिवरधारी। जय गोपी जनवल्लभा गिरिवरधारी। यशोदानन्दन व्रज जनरञ्जन। यशोदानन्दन व्रज जनरञ्जन। यमुनातीरावनचारी। यमुनातीरावनचारी। जय राध माधवा कुंज बिहारी। जय राध माधवा कुंज बिहारी। हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। जय राधा गिरिधरी राधे। जय राधा श्याम सुंदर राधे। जय कृष्ण बलराम जय कृष्ण बलराम जय कृष्ण बलराम। जय जगन्नाथ जय बलदेवा जय सुभद्रा। जय बाल गोपाल जय बाल गोपाल। जय गौरानिताय जय गौरानिताय जय गौरानिताय। जय जय प्रभुपाद जय जय प्रभुपाद। जय जय गुरुदेव जय जय गुरुदेव। श्री श्री राधा गिरिधारी भगवान की जय। श्री जगन्नाथ बलदेव सुभद्रा माई की जय। श्री गौरनिताय की जय। श्रील प्रभुपाद की जय। गुरुदेव की जय। So we'll continue reading a little bit of Srila Prabhupada Lilamrita from where we left off yesterday. The chapter title is Around the World but Absorbed in Bombay. Upananda. In Melbourne, Prabhupada spoke at the town hall and all the Melbourne hippies came. There was a man there called the Wizard. He used to be a professor at the university, but he resigned his post so he could carry out his shenanigans. He was very intellectual. He was dressed in a black cape and leotard, and he got up as soon as Srila Prabhupada asked for questions. He had a group of his own followers. First, he spoke very respectfully. Excuse me, Your Divine Grace. I've been listening to your lecture, but I have one thing I would like to say in this regard. I believe that I am God. I am the center of the universe, and I will prove sometime next year that I am the center of the universe. Prabhupada said, That's all right. Everybody is thinking like that. What makes you different? Actually, the wizard's whole game was that he wanted to be different. His dress, everything. So Prabhupada exposed him as just another materialistic fool. Everybody started laughing and clapping. Auckland, April 14th, 1972. The devotees had just opened a temple in New Zealand a few weeks before Prabhupada's arrival. Prabhupada stayed a couple of days and installed Radha Krishna deities. Purijana. Prabhupada installed large marble deities, but there was only one girl to take care of them. Prabhupada was insisting that the deities should be installed anyway and that they should be taken care of properly. He demanded that they should have many sets of clothes immediately. So some devotees built a temporary wooden altar and put up a curtain for the deities. The curtains fell down. Everything was going wrong. It was confusing and everyone was upset. So Srila Prabhupada just took over. He said, Put this here, put that back up there, do this, do that. He completely took command of the whole situation. The devotees put the curtains back and Prabhupada said, Get rid of this Vyasasan. And they took the Vyasasan out because it was so big and the room was so small that there was no room for the people. Prabhupada just put a mat on the floor and sat down on that. Prabhupada visited for one night in Hong Kong. where he lectured at a program arranged by Bhurijana and his wife Jagattarini. Purijana, we had taught the Indian children to sing the prayers to the spiritual master, so we had them sing for Prabhupada. He looked at me and he was really pleased. Then he said, "Your wife said there are no interested people, but you have so many students here." I said, "You have so many students, Prabhupada." At the end of the lecture, Prabhupada asked if there were any questions, and a little Indian boy raised his hand and asked, "Who started the forest fire?" The boy was thinking of a forest fire mentioned in the Krishna book in Krishna's pastime, but all he said was, "Who started the forest fire?" But Prabhupada took the question in a different way, that this material world is like a blazing forest fire, just like the prayers to the spiritual master had described. So Prabhupada said, "No one started the forest fire. It starts automatically, just like in a forest. But by the rubbing of two bamboos, a fire may start. But by chanting Hare Krishna, we can get out of this forest fire of material life." Srila Prabhupada ki jai. So before going on to Srimad Bhagavatam for today, we will read the invocation prayers. Om Ajnanatimirandhasya Jnananjana Chakshur Unmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupah Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam. Vandeham Shri Guroh Shri Utapadakamlam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathan Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadhutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhan Vitamscha. हे कृष्ण करुणा सिंधो दीनबंधो जगत्पते गोपेश गोपिका कांता राधा कांता नमोस्तुते तप्त कांचन गौरांगी राधे वृंदावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्य एव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्त वृंदा। हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे। नमो ओम विष्णुपादाय कृष्णपृष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदांत स्वामिन् इति नामिने नमस्ते सरस्वती देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्य देशतारिणे। नमो ओम विष्णुपादाय कृष्णपृष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिविश्रम्भमाधव स्वामिन् इति नामिने गुरुं गौरं गिरिश्रेष्ठं यो विश्रम्भेन सेवते माधवं तुलसी रामकृष्ण कीर्तिकिरं स्तुवे। मूकं करोति वाचालं पङ्गुं लङ्घयते गिरिं यत्कृपातमहं वन्दे परमानन्दमाधवं श्रीगुरुं दीनतारणम्। We thank Srila Prabhupada for his greatest contributions, his books, because of which we are able to speak today. Srimad Bhagavad Gita as it is, Srimad Bhagavatam, Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita, teachings of Lord Chaitanya, and many, many more. So great thank you to Srila Prabhupada. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. नारायणं नमस्कृत्य नरं चैव नरोत्तमं देवीं सरस्वतीं व्यासं ततो जयम् उदीरयेत्। नष्टप्रायेषु भद्रेषु नित्यं भागवतस्य सेवया भगवती उत्तमश्लोके भक्तिर्भवति नैष्ठिकी। शृण्वतां स्वकथा कृष्ण पुण्यश्रवणकीर्तनः हृदयन्तस्थो ह्यभद्राणि विधुनोति सुहृत्सताम्। So we are at Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 5, Chapter 20, Verse 5. So Canto 5 is the creative impetus. Chapter 20 is the studying the structure of the universe. And we are at verse 5 today. Before I begin, I'd like to thank all the devotees for giving me an opportunity to speak on this forum. So I'm not qualified to speak on Srimad Bhagavatam, but thanks to your mercy and your blessings, hopefully I will speak something of value today. I also thank you all for joining us today and giving me some time and being patient and listening to what I have to present. So I'll read the verse once and then other devotees, if they want, can also read. Pratnasya Vishnu Rupam Yat Satyasya Tasya Brahmanah Amritasya Cha Mrityoscha Suryam Atmanam Imahati. Pratnasya Vishnu-rupam yat satyasyarthasya brahmanah amritasya cha mrityoscha suryam atmanam imahiti. Pratnasya Vishnu-rupam yat satyasyarthasya brahmanah amritasya cha mrityoscha suryam atmanam imahiti. Would anyone like to try?
Hare Krishna Mataji, Dandavat Pranam, I am trying.
Thank you, Prabhu.
Pratnasya Vishnu Rupam Jat Shattashartasya Brahmanah Amritasya cha Mritasya Sharyam Atmanam Imahiti. Hare Krishna Mataji.
Hare Krishna, thank you, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna Mataji, Dandavat Pranam.
Pranam Mataji, thank you.
Pratnasya Vishnu Rupam Yat Shattasya Ritasya Brahmanah Amritasya cha Mritasya Shuryam Atmanam Imohiti. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Mataji. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Mataji, Dandavat Pranam.
Pranam Mataji, thank you.
Hare Krishna. Pratnasya Vishnu Rupam Yad Satyash Yartasya Brahmana Amritasya cha Mrityuscha Suryam Atmanam Imahiti.
Thank you, Mataji.
Hare Krishna Mataji, I am also trying.
Yes, Mataji, thank you.
Pratnasya Vishnu Rupam Jat Shattasya Ritasya Brahmana Amritasya cha Mritosya cha Shuryam Atmanam Imohiti. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, thank you. Should we move on to the synonyms? Would anyone like to read the synonyms, please?
Hare Krishna Mataji.
Thank you, Mataji.
Pratnasya of the oldest person, Vishnu, Lord Vishnu, Rupam, the form, Yat, which, Shattasya of the absolute truth, Ritasya of Dharma, Brahmanaha of the supreme Brahman, Amritasya of the auspicious result, Cha, and Mritto of death, the inauspicious result, Cha, and Shuryam, the demigod Shurya, Atmanam, the supersoul or origin of all souls, Imahi, we approach for shelter, Iti, thus. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, thank you, Mataji. Anyone for the translation?
Yes, Mataji, I can read.
Thank you, Mataji.
Translation by Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
Jai.
This is the mantra by which the inhabitants of Lakshadweep worship the Supreme Lord. Let us take shelter of the Sun God, who is reflection of Lord Vishnu, the all-expanding Supreme Personality of Godhead, the oldest of all persons. Vishnu is the only worshipable Lord. He is the Vedas, he is religion, and he is the origin of all auspicious and inauspicious results. Thank you, Mataji. Hare Krishna.
Mataji, Hare Krishna. Would anyone like to read the purport?
Hare Krishna Mataji, I am reading a part of it.
Okay, thank you, Prabhu.
Okay. Lord Vishnu is even the supreme Lord of death, as confirmed in Bhagavad Gita, Mrityu Sarvaharam Chaham. There are two kinds of activity, auspicious, inauspicious, and both are controlled by Lord Vishnu. Inauspicious activities are said to be behind Lord Vishnu, whereas auspicious activities stand before him. The auspicious and the inauspicious exist throughout the entire world, and the Lord Vishnu, the controller of both. In regard to the verse, Sri Madhacharya says, Shatta Shamagni Barisha Vidhatrishu Jathaka Kramam Plakshadi Deepo Sangstasho Stitam Harim Upashate. There are many lands, fields, mountains, and oceans throughout the creation, and everywhere the Supreme Personality of Godhead is worshipped by his different names. Srila Biraragava Acharya explains the verse Srimad Bhagavatam as follows: the original cause of the cosmic manifestation must be oldest person and must therefore be beyond material transformations. He is the enjoyer of all auspicious activities and is the cause of conditional life and also liberation. The demigod Shurya, which is categorized as very powerful jiva as living entity, is a representative of one of the parts of the body. We are naturally subordinate to powerful living entities, and therefore we can worship the various demigods as living beings who are powerful representatives of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Although the worship of the Sun God is recommended in the mantra, he is worshipped not as a Supreme Personality of Godhead, but as powerful representative. Hare Krishna, I'm stopping here, Mataji.
Thank you, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna Mataji. May I continue from there?
Yes, please. Thank you, Mataji.
In the Katha Upanishad 1.3.1, it is said, Ritam pivanto sukritasya loke guham pravishto parame para, parad, pararadhe chaya tapo brahmaido vadanti panchaganyo ye chatiri nachiketaha. Oh, Nachiketa, the expansion of Lord Vishnu as the tiny living entity and the super soul are both situated within the cave of the heart of this body. Having entered that cavity, the living entity resting on the chief of the life airs enjoys the results of activities, and the super soul acting as witness enables him to enjoy them. Those who are well versed in knowledge of Brahman and those householders who carefully follow the Vedic regulations say that the difference between the two is like the difference between a shadow and the sun. In the Svetasvatra Upanishad 6.16, it is said, Sa Vishvakrita Vishwavid Atmayoni Gya Kalakaro Guni Sarva Vidyaha Pradhan Kshetragya Patir Guneshaha Samsara Moksha Sthiti Bandha Hetu. The Supreme Lord, the creator of this cosmic manifestation, knows every nook and corner of his creation. Although he is the cause of creation, there is no cause for his appearance. He is fully aware of everything. He is the super soul, the master of all transcendent qualities, and he is the master of this cosmic manifestation in regard to bondage to the conditional state of material existence and liberation from the bondage. Similarly, in the Taittiriya Upanishad 2.8, it is said, भीषस्मादेवातः भवेत् भीषोदेति सूर्यः भीषास्मात् अग्निश्चेन्द्रश्च मृत्युर्धावति पंचमा. It is out of fear of the Supreme Brahman that the wind is blowing out of fear of him, and the sun regularly rises and sets, and out of fear of him the fire acts. It is only due to fear of him that Death and Indra, the king of heaven, performs their respective duties. Shall I continue, Mataji, or someone will?
There's only one paragraph. If nobody else is volunteering, you can continue, Mataji. Yeah, you can continue, Mataji.
As
Please.
described in this chapter, the inhabitants of the 5 islands, beginning with Palakshadweep, worships the sun god, the moon god, the fire god, the air god, and Lord Brahma, respectively. Although they engage in the worship of these 5 demigods, however, they actually worship Lord Vishnu, the super soul of all living entities, as indicated in this verse by the words Pratnasya Vishnu Rupam. Vishnu is Brahma, Amrit, Mrityu, the supreme Brahman and the origin of everything, auspicious and inauspicious. He is situated in the heart of everyone, including all the demigods. Stated in Bhagavad Gita 7.20, Kamaistair Ritgyana Prapadyante Anya Devata. Those whose mind are distorted by material desires surrender unto the demigods. People who are almost blind because of lusty desires are recommended to worship the demigods to have their material desires fulfilled. But actually, those desires are not fulfilled by the material demigods. Whatever the demigods do is done with the sanction of Lord Vishnu. People who are too lusty worship various demigods instead of worshipping Lord Vishnu, the super soul of all living entities. But immediately it is Lord Vishnu they worship because he is the super soul of all demigods. Thank you, Mataji. Hare Krishna.
Yeah. A lot of content in the verse and the purport especially, I think so many quotations, nearly 6 or 7 quotations by different Upanishads and Veera Raghava Acharya, different Acharyas, Bhagavad Gita. So a lot of content here. Let's just see. So as the title suggests, we're studying the structure of the universe. We continue to study this. So we'll just do a little bit of context where we are in the Bhagavatam. So it all began with Maharaj Parikshit being cursed to die within 7 days, and he's approached Shukadev Goswami, who's giving him the way to make those 7 days most fruitful, to make his life and his death successful, so that he doesn't have to come back again into this material world. So whatever is being said as part of this, the whole Srimad Bhagavatam, the 12 cantos and the 18,000 verses, all of them are meant with this single purpose. The only intention is how to make Maharaj Parikshit's life successful and how to make our life successful, all the readers and all the listeners. So with that context, so whatever is being discussed, whether it be sociology, geography, history, anthropology, whatever is being covered here, all of them have that single intention that we have to, when we read this, when we listen to this, it is going to purify us a little bit more, and we are heading on our way back to Godhead. Now, this particular section of the Bhagavatam, it began with Maharaj Parikshit inquiring from Shukadev Goswami. He wants to know about the cosmic geography, you might say, of the cosmology of the universe. So he asked Shukadev Goswami to explain the structure of the universe. And Shukadev Goswami started with Bhumandala, which is a middle planetary system. And he explained that there are 7 dvipas or 7 islands. And the middlemost dvipa, Jambu Dvipa, is what he's covered extensively in the last 2 or 3 chapters. So the last chapter concluded with a very detailed description of Bharatavarsha. Bharatavarsha, where all of us are, and where Maharaj Parikshit and Shukadev Goswami, all of them are. This conversation is happening in Bharatavarsha. And he's described how glorious this land of Bharatavarsha is, because it provides the greatest facility to go back to Godhead, greatest location you can choose if you want to make your life successful. And now, Shukadev Goswami, in this chapter, he is moving away from the shores of Jambudvipa towards the other 6 islands. So he's crossed the saltwater ocean around Jambudvipa, and the first island he's come to is Plakshadvipa. Plakshadvipa, as we heard yesterday, the first 4 verses of this chapter, described in detail about this island, about the structure of the island, how many rivers are there, how many mountains are there, who's ruling it, how the ruler, how Maharaj Priyavata's son I forget his name, he basically hands over the whole island to his 7 sons, and then he's left retired, gone to the forest to worship the Lord. And so now, even the residents of Plakshadvipa were described, where they were described as being highly materially prosperous, or they had an opulent life, a lifetime of 1,000 years, which we can't imagine here in Bharatavarsha. Such a long life, beauty, they had all the resources. Materially, they were very, very well-to-do, very wealthy and prosperous. And they lived almost like the demigods. They would, there was nothing that they were short of. And it's also described who they worshipped. Now, even in the purport, Prabhupada mentions that the other 6 islands, other than Jambudvipa, the other 6 islands beginning with Plakshadvipa, who is being worshipped is the other demigods. So this in this island of Plakshadvipa, the sun god is being worshipped. Then in the other islands, it's going to be moon god, fire, water, Varuna, and then there's going to be Brahma and air. So Vayu, all these demigods are being worshipped in the other islands. Whereas we saw in Jambudvipa, not mainly, all the Varshas in Jambudvipa, only the Lord was being worshipped, either in his original form or as his incarnations. But here we see there's a move away from that and to worshipping the demigods. So in this purport, we see, and even in the verse, we see that there are basically 2 points Prabhupada is mentioning. One is that auspicious and inauspicious results both come from the Supreme Lord. And then the rest of the purport, mainly Prabhupada discusses demigod worship, the reasoning behind it, the rationale and all that. So we are going to, today's class, I'm going to focus mainly on the second point, which is worshipping the demigods. So with that brief context, let's go on to this main focus of today's topic, which is demigod worship. So much of it, I'm sure all of us know. I'm just going to cover it. So who are the demigods? So we know that the demigods are representatives of the Supreme Lord. They are the administrative, they hold administrative posts in the government of this cosmology, of this whole cosmic creation. So they are all also described in other places as the limbs of the Supreme Lord. And as his limbs, they help administer this universe. So there are more than, I think, 33 million, if I'm not mistaken, demigods, because every single facet of our living here is controlled by the demigods. If not for them, we would not be able to speak, we won't be able to even blink our eyelids. And what to speak about, produce all the food grains, all the climatic conditions, all of that is basically the generosity or the work of these demigods. Because of them, we get sun, moon, light, air that we breathe. All of that is supplied by these demigods. So they hold very, very powerful positions, and we are really insignificant in comparison to them. We are totally dependent on them for all our necessities, all our needs. As we see in Bhagavad Gita. In the Bhagavad Gita, in 700 verses, the demigods are mentioned several times throughout the Bhagavad Gita. So we'll be covering a few places and the context in which they're being spoken of. So at the very beginning, in the third chapter on Karma Yoga, we have Lord Krishna. He says to Arjuna that in the origin of the universe, he created all living beings and he sent forth demigods along with living beings. And let's see this verse. Says chapter 3 verse 11, Devan bhavayatanena te deva bhavayantu vaha parasparam bhavayantaha shreya param avapsitha. The demigods being pleased by sacrifices will also please you, and thus by cooperation between men and demigods, prosperity will reign for all. So basically the demigods, they are providing us all these things. But what did Lord Krishna also provide along with these living beings and the demigods? He also provided yajna, or the method of sacrifice. And so when we live a life of mutual cooperation, when human beings, we perform yajna to please the demigods being pleased will please us. They will provide us with all the necessities we need. And then, so we are supposed to live in mutual cooperation with the demigods. And then the question arises, why worship the demigods? So now we can understand their position, we can understand our position, and therefore we understand that certainly we are much, much inferior or subordinate in our position in this universe compared to the demigods. So very logical reasons why we should worship the demigods. Because in the Vedas, which is our prime source of knowledge, this worshipping the demigods is covered very extensively. There's a whole karmakandic section where how to live, how to work in this world, and how to survive in this world, and how to progress in this world is all covered extensively in the Vedas. So it is authorized. Worshipping the demigods is an authorized process. We also see in the Srimad Bhagavatam, even at the very beginning, even Shukadev Goswami mentions this through Maharaj Parikshit. Before he goes on to explain the real purpose of life, he does mention this quite extensively, that when you want different things, you approach the different demigods. So we'll just quickly read some part of the purport, because it's a very long purport, translation for verses 2 to 7 of this chapter. One who desires to be absorbed in the impersonal Brahmajyoti effulgence should worship the master of the Vedas, Lord Brahma or Brihaspati, the learned priest. One who desires powerful sex should worship the heavenly king Indra, and one who desires good progeny should worship the great progenitors called the Prajapatis. One who desires good fortune should worship Durga Devi, the superintendent of the material world. One desiring to be very powerful should worship fire, and one who aspires only after money should worship the Vasus. One should worship the Rudra incarnations of Lord Shiva if he wants to be a great hero. One who wants a large stock of grains should worship Aditi. One who desires to attain the heavenly planets should worship the sons of Aditi. And one who desires a worldly kingdom. So on, it goes on and on. So I won't read the whole thing, but every demigod, every desire, possible desire that one can have, there is a demigod whom you can worship to fulfill those desires. And this is covered in great detail, not just who you should worship, but in the rest of the Vedas, there's great details of what the rituals are to worship each demigod in order to get what you want. So that is one reason that worshipping the demigods is authorized by scripture. The second thing is, as we saw, there's an expression of gratitude. Naturally, if our life is so dependent on the demigods, and without them we could not survive, then it behoves us to to be grateful to them. And so as part of that, we have to give them something, offer them our worship. So in chapter 3, the next verse says, Ishtan bhogan hi vo deva dasyante yajna bhavitaha ter dattan apradayebhyo yo bhunkte stena evasaha. In charge of the various necessities of life, the demigods, being satisfied with the performance of yajna, will supply all necessities to you. But he who enjoys such gifts without offering them to the demigods in return is certainly a thief. So if we don't want to be called ungrateful, if we have to express our gratitude, then one obvious process is to worship the demigods. The worship of demigods is also authorized by scripture because it's meant for purification and gradual elevation. As we know, there are billions and trillions of living entities in the universe. All of us are here because we have desires, and we have multifarious desires based on the modes we are under, based on our karma. We have various desires, and because of that, we are in different forms of life and different stages of life and different stages of purification, and we are all evolving. The purpose of this material world is for us to evolve, to become better and better and better, and finally, as we'll see, to progress spiritually in this life. So because this worship of demigods, it's also meant for our purification and gradual elevation. So we see in Bhagavad Gita chapter 17, where we are talking about the different modes, we see Yajante Satvika Devan Yaksha Rakshamsi Rajasaha Pretan Bhuta Ganams Chanye Yajante Tamasa Janaha. Men in the mode of goodness worship the demigods. Those in the mode of passion worship the demons, and those in the mode of ignorance worship ghosts and spirits. So when we are progressing, as we are evolving from the mode of ignorance to the mode of passion, finally to the mode of goodness, then at that stage of reaching the mode of goodness, our tendency will be to worship the demigods. So it's a progression. As part of the progression, worship of demigods is also there. But beyond all this, beyond this progression, one reason we also worship demigods is because we don't know any better. The mass majority of people, and I can speak about myself, before I came to Krishna consciousness, what did I know? I didn't know anything. People just worship, whoever their family's been worshiping, why they're worshiping, we don't know. We just do it as part of tradition, as part of culture, as part of our environment. We just do whatever everyone else is doing. So when you're in Mumbai, you worship Ganapati, it's natural. Ganesh is the worshipable deity there. Similarly, in Calcutta, those areas, probably Durga is worshipped. So it is just like a natural progression when we don't have any further information. And also there is a lack of proper understanding. Those who are knowledgeable also they're towards, they are towards impersonal understanding or towards the Shankara school or the Mayavadi school, then the idea is that you worship the demigods, but ultimately you want to transcend them to know the Brahman. So only these forms are worshipped temporarily until you progress further according to them. So there's no understanding about why we are actually worshipping the demigods, or what should we be actually doing. And then, as we've seen earlier, when our material desires cloud our intelligence, then we will worship the demigods. When we have such strong material desires that without we can't live without having them satisfied, then one way is to worship the demigods. As it said in the Bhagavad Gita, kamaistair hitagnyanaha prapadyante anya devataha tam niyamam ashthaya prakritya niyata swaya. Those whose intelligence has been stolen by material desires surrender unto demigods and follow the particular rules and regulations of worship according to their own natures. So obviously, if you have very strong material desires, as Shukadev Goswami has given before, you worship one particular demigod for satisfying one desire, another for another one, and so on. And as per the rules and regulations of worship, you would worship them. But this is when our intelligence is clouded. When our intelligence is clouded, when we don't know anything better, then this is what we will do. But what happens when we know better? When we know better, we will see that we are in this prison of this material world, and so too are the devatas, so too are the demigods. We are all controlled by the modes of material nature. As much as we are controlled, they are also controlled. There was a very nice example given by His Grace Sankarshan Prabhu, I was listening to his lecture on this verse, and he explained that he told a story about when long back, when he was distributing Back to Godhead magazines. Once he got arrested and he was put in prison. And when he was in prison, he observed something very, very interesting. He saw that in the prison, there were some prisoners who were senior, who were more trustworthy perhaps, who had been there for a long time, who had good behavior and so on. They were given more freedom and they were able to move around the prison more freely to different areas of the prison that was not accessible by the newcomers. They were also given more facilities and resources, and they were better situated than the other criminals. And the other criminals, the junior criminals who had just entered perhaps, or who were not experienced in being in the prison, they would approach these senior prisoners. They'll try to get their favor. So they will try to please them so that the senior prisoners, being happy with them, would give them also some part of the facilities that they enjoy. So if they wanted something, they would approach the senior prisoners and try to please them. But what did Sankarshan Prabhu do? He didn't do that. So he just called the temple president, and the temple president came and bailed him out. And he said, this is what it is, what we need to do, or what one does if you want to get out of the prison altogether. And that seems to be the intelligent way, is to getting out of the prison altogether. And you will just call he said, the Supreme Temple President, which is Lord Sri Krishna, who is above everyone, who's above and beyond this material world. And you will call him by chanting the Hare Krishna mantra, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. And it is he who can bail us out of this material world. So the final authority is Lord Sri Krishna. Now, there are many verses supporting this, and we can't possibly cover all of them. Srila Prabhupada has covered quite a few of them in his purport, but I just thought some other familiar ones perhaps that we can go through. So in chapter 7, Bhagavad Gita, he says, Yo yo yam tanum bhaktaha shraddhayarchitum ichhati tasya chalam shraddham tam eva vidadamyaham. I am in everyone's heart as a super soul. As soon as one desires to worship some demigod, I make his faith steady so that he can devote himself to that particular deity. And he also goes on to say, actually, next verse is Sataya Shraddhaya Yuktas Tasya Radhanam Ihate Labhate Cha Tatha Kaman Mayaiva Vihitan Hitan. Endowed with such faith, he endeavors to worship a particular demigod and obtains his desires. But in actuality, these benefits are bestowed by me alone. So and then chapter 9, verse 23. Ye pyanya devata bhakta yajante shraddhayanvitaha tepi mameva kaunteya yajanti avidhipurvakam. Those who are devotees of other gods and who worship them with faith actually worship only me, O son of Kunti, but they do so in a wrong way. So Lord Krishna is not very pleased with this kind of incorrect kind of worship. Even though you acknowledge that Lord Krishna is behind the power of the demigods, even then he says it is avidhipurvakam, or not the prescribed way. Then Srimad Bhagavatam, this is when Lord Kapila is speaking to Mother Devahuti. Mad bhayad vati vatoyam suryas tapati mad bhayad varshat indro dahat yagnir mrityus charati mad bhayad. It is because of my supremacy that the wind blows out of fear of me. The sun shines out of fear of me, and the Lord of the clouds, Indra, sends forth showers out of fear of me. Fire burns out of fear of me, and death goes about taking its toll out of fear of me. So all these devatas are working under the supervision of the Supreme Lord. Same in Adilila of Chaitanya Charitamrita. Ekale Ishvara Krishna Ara Sababhritya Yarin Yeche Nachaya Set Taiche Kare Nitya. Lord Krishna alone is the supreme controller, and all others are his servants. They dance as he makes them do so. And we know Brahma Samhita, chapter 5, verse 44 and 50. Shrishti Sthiti Pralaya Sadhana Shakti Reka Chayeva Yasya Bhuvanani Bibharti Durga Ichhanurupam Apiyasya Chacheshtate Sa Govindam Adi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami. The external potency Maya, who is of the nature of the shadow of the Chit potency, is worshipped by all people as Durga, the creating, preserving and destroying agency of this mundane world. I adore the primeval Lord Govinda, in accordance with whose will Durga conducts herself. And Yatpada Pallava Yugam Vinidhaya Kumbha Dvandve Pranama Samaye Sa Ganadhirajaha Vignan Vihantu Malamasya Jagatrayasya Govindamadi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami. I adore the primeval Lord Govinda, whose lotus feet are always held by Ganesha upon the pair of tumuli protruding from his elephant head, in order to obtain power for his function of destroying all the obstacles on the path of progress of the three worlds. So Lord Ganesh, the Durga, all of them get their powers from the Supreme Lord. And then what's the benefit? So we also see, when we know better, we'll see that we are putting in great effort to please the demigods, but the results we get are meager. Bhagavad Gita again, chapter 7, verse 23. Antavattu phalam tesham tad bhavat alpamedhasam devan deva yajo yanti mad bhakta yanti mamapi. Men of small intelligence worship the demigods, and their fruits are limited and temporary. Those who worship the demigods go to the planets of the demigods, but my devotees ultimately reach my supreme planet. As we see in this, in the last verse, Prabhupada ends with that, saying that if you're worshipping the sun god in Plakshadipa, you're going back to the sun planet. You're not going, you're not leaving the material world. You're not escaping the material world. Similarly, Bhagavad Gita chapter 9, verse 20 and 21. Traividyamam somapaput papa yagner ishtvasvar gatim prarthayante te punyam asadya surendra lokam ashnanti devyanti videva bhogan. Those who study the Vedas and drink the soma juice, seeking the heavenly planets, worship me indirectly. Purified of sinful reactions, they take birth on the pious heavenly planet of Indra, where they enjoy godly delights. And the next verse also. Tetam bhuktva swargalokam vishalam kshine punye martyalokam vishanti evam dharmam anuprapanna gatagatam kama kama labhante. When they have thus enjoyed vast heavenly sense pleasure and the results of their pious activities are exhausted, they return to this mortal planet again. Thus, those who seek sense enjoyment by adhering to the principles of the three Vedas achieve only repeated birth and death. But when we contrast this, to our Supreme Lord and worshipping Him, Chaitanya Charitamrita Madhya Leela, Krishna kahe, ama bhaje, mage vishaya sukha, amrita chadi visham mage, e bada murkha. Krishna says, if one engages in my transcendental loving service, but at the same time wants the opulence of material enjoyment, he is very, very foolish. Indeed, he is just like a person who gives up ambrosia to drink poison. Ami vignya, ei murkhe, vishaya kenadiba, swacharanamrita diya, vishaya bhulaiba. Since I am very intelligent, why should I give this fool material prosperity? Instead, I shall induce him to take the nectar of the shelter of my lotus feet and make him forget illusory material enjoyment. And then, Satyam dishatyarthitam arthito nrinam naivarthado yat punar arthita yataha swayam vidhate bhajatam anichhatam ichha pidhanam nijapada pallavam. Whenever Krishna is requested to fulfill one's desire, he undoubtedly does so. But he does not award anything which, after being enjoyed, will cause one to petition him again and again to fulfill further desires. When one has other desires but engages in the Lord's service, Krishna forcibly gives one shelter at his lotus feet, where one will forget all other desires. This is again from the Srimad Bhagavatam as well, Canto 5. So this is the greatness of our Lord, of Lord Krishna. When you worship him, one is you get a permanent position out of this material world in the eternal spiritual world. That is the ultimate benefit. But that doesn't mean that he ignores our so-called material desires. If you approach him, he may fulfill the desire depending on whether it is good for us and at a time when it is good for us. And moreover, he will make sure that we are approaching him and we are not shortchanged, that we are giving more value than what we paid for. So you may aspire for something very small, but he will give you the biggest, much more than you even asked for. That is his speciality. Now, the other thing also we will see is that bhaya moha shoka, fear, illusion, and lamentation. It's not only us, even the demigods being within this material world, they're also equally subject to these emotions. We know this. We've seen it so many times, right? In the Bhagavatam, so far, already we have seen Lord Indra, how many times he's stolen the Ashwamedha horse of someone who's completing 100 Ashwamedha yajnas. He's scared, he's worried, he's concerned that this person, if he finishes 100 Ashwamedha yajnas, he'll become eligible to become Indra. Then my position will go, my post will go. So many times. You see Prithu Maharaj, then we heard 2 days back, Surit Prabhu was mentioning Sagara Maharaj's story. Again, Indra stole the sacrificial horse. And even later on, we will see that he will kill Vishwarupa because he notices that Vishwarupa is offering oblations for both the demigods and the demons. So even though Vishwarupa is their spiritual guru at that time, even then he kills him, he beheads him because he's afraid. That fear takes over Indra so many times. Then Moha, illusion, of course. We see in the Govardhan pastime, he's under illusion. He thinks, oh my God, who's this little boy who's stopping my worship, who's stopping the Brajvasis from worshipping me? So he thinks he's far superior to Krishna. And then Shoka, so many times you see the demigods, they approach Lord Brahma, our kingdom is gone. The demons have taken our kingdom. Please save us, please help us. And then Brahma will take them all to the ocean, milk ocean, and there they will all petition the Lord. Then Lord will tell them, yes, I will appear, don't worry. So many times in the Bhagavatam we see. Similarly, Lord Brahma, we see he came under moha when he saw the Krishna and the cowherd boys enjoying a picnic. In the 10th canto, we will see this. So Brahma Vimohana Leela. Literally, he is under illusion at that time. He sees, oh, this little boy, he can't be the supreme personality of Godhead. Let me see his powers. So he, as a challenge, literally, he steals all the boys and the cows. And Krishna will show him his position. He manifests himself as all the cowherd boys and all the cows. And Lord Brahma is bewildered. So again and again, we see that the demigods are equally subject to all these lower emotions that we ordinary living beings feel. So why worship them? That's the question. And we see, on the other hand, devotees or people that are worshipping the Supreme Lord, they exhibit fearlessness. Don't have to give examples here. So many examples. Yeah, you see Dhruva Maharaj as a little boy, fearless. He went into the forest full of wild animals, full of so many dangers, but approaching the Supreme Lord, complete fearlessness, and the Lord grants him all his desires as well as much, much more. Prahlad Maharaj, his own father is out to kill him in so many different ways. Every moment of his life is like, in danger. He doesn't know whether he's going to survive the next minute. But he's completely fearless in taking shelter of the Supreme Lord. All the devotees, you look at Draupadi, she turned to her husbands who were as powerful as demigods. She turned to all the seniors in the assembly, but nobody could help her. She just threw up her hand in surrender, and the Lord granted her fearlessness. He saved her. So again and again and again, Vritrasura, we see. Vritrasura, he's calling Indra, you come and fight me. Why are you scared? Pick up your Vajra. Come, kill me. He's not afraid of death. So this fearlessness comes automatically to someone who worships the Supreme Lord. Moreover, what to say about the Lord protecting us? The demigods themselves protect the devotees. We have seen recently, we finished studying the story of Bharat Maharaj and Jada Bharat. We see that Mother Kali, her so-called devotees, the dacoits, they're worshipping her and they're wanting to offer Jada Bharat as a sacrificial offering to her. They want to kill him. But Kali Mata, she herself comes out of the deity and she actually kills all the dacoits who are so-called her devotees in order to protect Jada Bharat. So everyone, because obviously, if you're worshipping the Supreme Lord and you're dear to him, then automatically the demigods, you're also dear to them because for them you're their Lord and Masters, dear one. So they automatically become dear to them. And why from scripture we see contemporary examples? So many contemporary examples. We take Srila Prabhupada. His name is Abhay Charan. He was fearless in his attack on Maya. So many challenges he faced. But taking shelter of the Supreme Lord, taking shelter of his Guru, he was completely fearless. and he did so much. And his guru, Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati, we see fearlessness in his life. He, at one point of time, there was a threat on his life. And that was because he was taking on the upper sampradayas, the other groups that were not faithful to Lord Krishna's teachings. And there was a threat on his life, but he was completely fearless. He completely went on preaching. His father, Bhakti Vinod Thakur, we see again, uh, he wasn't afraid to take on Bishakishan, the powerful yogi. The powerful yogi, he was so powerful that he caused a terrible fever in Bhaktivinoda Thakur's daughter, but Bhaktivinoda Thakur carried on fearlessly. And then we know the Goswamis. We think that they were living in the forest of Raja. It must have been very, very beautiful and idyllic. No doubt, but there were also so many dangers, so many wild animals, the heat, the rain, so many climatic conditions. And yet, despite that, they composed. They not only lived there, they composed so many beautiful scriptures and so many beautiful compositions. So completely fearless, completely dedicated, and completely engrossed in the Lord. Now, worship of the demigods, there are also different Vaishnava perspectives. So one of the classes I heard was by His Grace Achintya Chaitanya Prabhu. Achintya Chaitanya Prabhu. So this class was completely dedicated. It was on the same verse, but his class was completely on the different Vaishnava perspectives with respect to demigod worship. Very interesting, and if you have time, please do listen. But I'll just briefly say the different perspectives of different Vaishnava gurus on demigod worship. So we have Sri Ramanuja Acharya, who's a leader of the Sri Sampradaya. So in his teachings, among his followers, it is completely prohibited to worship any demigods. There's no question of worshipping the demigods or even they won't even enter the demigod temples. They're very, very strict followers of that. For them, it's only the main aim is moksha. Then we have Sri Madhvacharya. Madhvacharya, among his followers, among his teachings, it's all right to worship the demigods, but you're not worshipping the demigods, you're actually worshipping the super soul, who is Lord Krishna, within the demigods. That's how he said it's all right, it's authorized to worship the demigods in that sense. Then in our own sampradaya, we have Sri Gopala Bhatta Goswami. So Sri Gopala Bhatta Goswami has written many books. And one of the books that this Prabhu quotes from is Shat Kriya Sara Deepika. And in this book, Srila Gopala Bhatta Goswami, he says any rituals which involve the names of the demigods, he has painstakingly replaced them or substituted them with names of the Lord and the Bhagavata, or the pure devotees of the Lord. For example, wherever there's Navagraha Puja, especially in South India, you see a lot of Navagraha Pujas. So Navagraha Puja, instead of that, you worship the Nava Yogendras, he says. Similarly, there are other, like for example, Gauri and the Matrigana, so all the Devi worship. He's substituted them with the names of Vaishnavis, like Ganga, Yamuna, Tulasi, and so on. So that is, he's written a lot of books about this kind of worship. But coming down to us, for us, we are guided by Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada is our ultimate guide, and he has made it very, very simple. So for us, he says the focus is on chanting the Hare Krishna Mahamantra, on studying or listening to hearing Srimad Bhagavatam, and serving the Vaishnavas. So very simple formula. And not so much, don't focus on, on other don'ts, but at least focus on the do's. This is what we're supposed to do. And he was like, give full respect to all the demigods because they are very powerful. As we see in the purport also, he mentions that they're very, very superior. They've been given administrative posts in the Lord's government. So very, very responsible positions. And certainly the Lord hasn't given us those responsible positions. So certainly there is something very great about these demigods, that they're faithfully performing their duties. So we owe them gratitude, and we do owe them a lot of respect. It's just like if we are, if we live in a family, our parents would like us to respect all the other elders as well. would like us to show respect to all uncles and aunts and everyone in the family. If we show disrespect, then our parents are also unhappy with us, because it shows poor upbringing. It shows badly on them. It shows badly on what kind of culture we've grown up in if we don't show respect to everyone. But at the same time, if we want something, our parents are not pleased if we go and pester other people for things that we want. So if we want something, our parents would like us to approach them and express our desires and our wants. So very similarly, we approach the Supreme Lord for anything we need, but we do respect all the demigods. Do not show them any disrespect. In conclusion, we'll just look at a few verses from the Bhagavatam and the others, and of course Chaitanya Charitamrita and Bhagavad Gita. Very beautiful verses. 2.3.10 of Bhagavatam. Akama sarva kamo va moksha kama udaradhi tivrena bhakti yogena yajeta purusham param. A person who has broader intelligence, whether he be full of all material desire, without any material desire, or desiring liberation, must by all means worship the Supreme Whole, the personality of Godhead. So one with greater intelligence, whatever your desire, whether you're desireless or have desires, worship the Supreme Lord. Madhyalila. Ananya mamata Vishnu mamata prema sangata bhaktir ityuchate bhishma prahalado uddhava naradehi. When one develops an unflinching sense of ownership and possessiveness in relation to Lord Vishnu, or in other words, when one thinks Vishnu and no one else to be the only object of love, such an awakening is called bhakti, devotion, by exalted persons like Bhishma, Prahalada, Uddhava, and Narada. Another beautiful verse. Etan nirvidyamana ichhatam akuto bhayam yoginam ripanirnitam hare namanukirtanam. O King, constant chanting of the holy name of the Lord after the ways of the great authorities is a doubtless and fearless way of success for all, including those who are free from all material desires, those who are desirous of all material enjoyment, and also those who are self-satisfied by dint of transcendental knowledge. And then out of Bhagavad Gita 9.22. Ananyas chintayanto mam ye janha paryupasate tesham nityabhiyuktanam yogakshemam vahamyaham. But those who always worship me with exclusive devotion, meditating on my transcendental form, to them I carry what they lack and I preserve what they have. So looking at all this, basically the conclusion is that just like Maharaj Parikshit, we are residents of Bharatvarsha. So that itself is very favorable for us. We're surrounded by so many devotees. We've got all the resources for spiritual advancement. We've got all the books, all the knowledge. We've got all the Vaishnavas, and we've got the chanting of the holy name. We've got Srila Prabhupada and his teachings. And we are also at the best time, actually, you can say, as Parikshit Maharaj, as Shukadev Goswami says, Kalir dosha nidhe rajan asti eko mahaguna. Kirtanadeva Krishnasya Mukta Sangha Param Rajet. So Kali Yuga is an ocean of faults, but there's one good quality. Just by the simple process of chanting the Hare Krishna mantra, we can make our life successful. So we have everything going for us. Everything is in our favor. So we are assured of success if we follow this path. So I'd like to conclude my presentation with this. If anyone has any comments or reflections or any corrections, please feel free. Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Mataji, Dandavat Pranam. Thank you very much for the very nice class explaining the so nicely about the worshipping demigod vis-a-vis the Supreme Personality of Godhead. You have so nicely explained. I don't think there is any point left out to speak on this one. Thank you once again. So nicely you have explained. And I just remember one verse in this regard that came to my mind. And in the second chapter of Srimad Bhagavatam, second canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, the first chapter, there's a verse in the verse number 6. Etavan shankho yogabhyan sadharma parinishthaya janmalabho param parapungsham ante narana sriti. That means at the end, ultimately, the purpose of human life is to remember the Lord throughout this life so that we can remember the Lord finally at the final point so that we can get rid of our cycle of birth and death. Because you have very nicely explained that whatever may be the things we are trying to do in this material life, to make it successful, the ultimate end is we have to get rid of the cycle of birth and death. Janma Mrityu Jara Vyadhi. We have to get rid of the cycle. That is the purpose of human life. If we cannot do it in this life, then it is a failure, whatever we are doing. So worshipping the demigods in that way is an obstruction, because of course, it gives a better life and all that. You have very nicely explained in different ways, but it is ultimately within the prison itself of this material world. So when we have to go out of this, we have to take shelter of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and ultimately, for that, we have to remember the Lord at the final moment, as in 8.5 of Bhagavad Gita, it is clearly explained that unless we remember the Lord at the final leaving the body, at the moment of leaving our body, we cannot go back to the abode of the Lord. So it is better we practice the serving the Lord, because who can fulfill all our desires, even material desire, Akamo Sarvo Kamoba, he can fulfill everything. So even if we have material desire, let us worship the Lord, and in this way He will clear us from this material attachment. Ultimately, He will take us to His abode. So that is the ultimate conclusion and of this verse, which you have very nicely explained. Thank you once again for your very nice class. Hare Krishna, Mataji. Thank you once
Hare
again.
Krishna. That was very nice. Ante Narayana Smriti 216, is it? Very nice verse. Thank you, Prabhu. If there's no further comments, can we conclude the class? It's already 8:30. I
Let
think.
us,
Sorry.
any of the devotees wants to make any comment on? Hare Krishna, any devotees want to make any comments? So it appears there's no other devotees to make any comments. So thank you once again, Mataji, for your very nice class, explained the point so nicely. So looking forward for your association in the coming classes as well. Hare Krishna. Thank you, Mataji. Vancha kalpatarupasya vipashim sindhubhyo
पतितानां
nam
पावनेभ्यो
pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namo.
गणपति
And
वैष्णव
devotee Vaishnavindra
जय
ki jai.
तुलसी सेवा माता जी
Yes,
की
Tulasi Sevya
जय
Mataji ki jai.
प्रभुपाद की
Srila
जय
Prabhupada ki jai.
गुरुदेव हरि हरि बोल all good
All
stuff.
glories to assembled devotees. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Mataji. Very, very nice class. Thank you.
Very nice class, Mataji. Thank you
So
so much.
many quotation and so many references. Thank you.